Arman sat me down at his kitchen table and blamed me for every cruel thing his son ever said. Arman stared me down across his kitchen table, repeating his son's worst insults like they were my fault. Every slur, every threat Daniar had spat at me over the years. Arman recited them in a calm, almost rehearsed voice, watching my face for a reaction. I'd been dating Daniar for 2 years, and his father had always been polite to me, the kind of polite that never quite reached his eyes. He'd shake my hand a beat too long. He'd ask about my job and forget the answer by dessert. That Sunday he invited me over alone, said he wanted to talk man to man, just family things. And I drove the 40 minutes out to his house in the suburbs thinking maybe he finally wanted to welcome me in. I brought a box of baklava from the place his wife used to love. He took it from me at the door without a word and set it on a side table, still in the bag. The hallway smelled like old cigarette smoke and floor polish. I should have noticed how the curtains were drawn in the middle of the afternoon, how the television in the living room was unplugged and pushed against the wall, and how he'd already poured 2 cups of tea before I even sat down, both of them cold to the touch when I picked mine up. He started gently, asking about my job, my parents, whether I still spoke to my brother after everything that happened last winter. He nodded at my answers without really listening. Then, without changing his tone, without even blinking, he said, "Daniar told me you called him weak. He told me you said he'd never amount to anything. He told me you laughed at him when he cried about his mother." My stomach dropped through the floor, because those were the exact words Daniar had screamed at ME 3 weeks earlier in a parking lot at midnight, while I sat on the curb with my keys digging into my palm. I tried to correct him, my voice shaking, my hands suddenly useless in my lap. But Arman just raised one finger and kept going, listing insult after insult, each one a sentence I had heard from his son's mouth, twisted now and aimed back at me like a knife handed back hilt first. "You made him this way," he said quietly. "You took my boy and you broke him, and now you're going to fix it." I felt the chair behind me creak as I shifted my weight, and that's when I noticed his phone was face down on the table with the screen record icon blinking red along the edge. He saw me see it. He smiled, the first real smile he'd given me in 2 years, and slid a folded piece of paper across the wood with 2 fingers. "Read this out loud," he said, "word for word. Then you can leave." I unfolded the paper with trembling fingers, and the first line alone made the blood drain out of my face. Because it wasn't an apology, it wasn't a confession, it was something far worse, something that named a person I hadn't thought about in years. "Follow so you don't miss part 2,